And we're back for another decently exciting week on the Creators Collective. We're so glad you came here to join us today, and we are going to have a moderately fun week. Won't be extremely fun like the last one, because, well, it's a new week.
The theme of the week is moderation, apparently.
Yes. So we're going to be looking at a few things coming up here, and we are the big thing we want to talk about this week is actually the photo challenge that ended up being far bigger than we anticipated. But we'll be covering that a little bit later here. So while we're waiting, Zach, why don't you tell us what you got going on?
All right. So, as always, it's been a busy week. I finally finished up that the welding cart that I was working on, and I got my new MIG welder and my new TIG welder all set up, which is really exciting. Um, it's funny that that picture I posted it to my Instagram, and I think for some reason I don't know why, but that the welding card was like the most liked image I've ever posted to my Instagram. I don't understand it, but people are really into welding carts apparently. So, but I'm excited about that. So this is the first video. I mean, those listeners of this podcast will know that I've kind of been immersing myself more into like filming technique and just getting better, shooting better scenes and different editing and that sort of stuff. So this is really the first project that I've focused more. I've put thought and attention into how I actually record it and how I edit it. And the video is a lot different than my normal videos. So I have most of it edited. I need to shoot the outro today, and then I'll get that posted probably. I'm thinking like, I don't know, depends. I'm guessing early next week at the latest, like Tuesday is probably the latest that I'll post it. But I'm really excited to see how that comes out. But yeah,
Yeah,
that photo challenge, man, that's been insane. That thing blew up. How many submissions are there?
I think we have 57 right now.
57 submissions, and like 80% of them are really, really, really good. It's like I can't even pick a favorite. There's like four or five that I can't decide.
Yeah,
It's
we're gonna have a hard time coming up with a rubric for how do we decide who
I
wins.
know. I'm wondering. We'll have to figure this out. I mean, like I guess we were kind of assuming that there'd be like maybe 10 pictures and one would definitely be a standout. But apparently, there's some very skilled photographers in this world because there are some of those pictures. If you guys aren't familiar with it, just go to Instagram and it's hashtag creators. What is it?
Creators Photo Challenge.
Creators Photo Challenge, and there's some really really amazing pictures in there. So we're trying to
Yeah.
figure out how we're going to progress with this. I think what we would like to do is we're not going to be able to decide a winner right now because we had so many submissions. But if we can, if we get a good idea before the end of the show, we'll start the next challenge, and you can start submitting. And I think rather than doing it every week, I think we've kind of come to the consensus that doing it 2 weeks will give people more time because, I mean, I know a lot of us travel and we get busy with work and stuff. So we're going to try and do it every 2 weeks. We'll come up with a new topic and we'll decide the winner. Although we won't be able to decide the winner this week because one, Will isn't here and there's just way more submissions than we expected. So if anybody in the live chat has a suggestion for the next photo challenge, we'll if we announce that before the end of the show, we'll go ahead and get that one underway. And we haven't decided what we're going to do, but we want to reward whoever we decide is the winner. We're going to send them some swag. So I don't know if it'll be like T-shirts or stickers or um, yeah, something. We'll figure
Wood
something out.
curls from James's floor.
James writes wood curls. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
I'm thinking we should do something like, dust in the air or you know, hands on tools
hands on tools is kind of cool.
or
Andy Berkey.
unsafe things.
I don't know if that's a good idea. Get us into trouble. Submit a picture of you injuring yourself.
Yes, yes.
Don't do that though, please. No, that's actually kind of cool because Berkey had a picture that had his hands. It was black and white. It was kind of a
Yeah,
cool
that was
picture.
really cool.
So we might. Jim wants to win my truck. No, no, Jim.
Yeah, a little
Uh,
later after we get to the Q&A, we'll be, talking about, each of us have our 1 or 2 favorites that we saw so far, and we'll make a decision then for what we wanna do for next time.
yeah. So as far as what's new, I mean, that was not really directly to me, but the welding cart. Some of you also, if you guys follow my Instagram, you saw the plasma cutout of my logo that I did in Cleveland at the Lincoln event, and I'm going to be making a sign with that and kind of doing just a little like vlog of the whole Cleveland experience. That was just, it's so cool. I mean, I can't believe that I get to hang out with like Laura Kampf and Jimmy and all of these, all of my heroes, April Wilkerson. Like, I can't believe somehow I snuck into this like group of the cool kids, and I get to hang out with them regularly. So I feel like an imposter. Um, but so I'll have a video out on that hopefully in the next couple weeks as well. What else is new? Got a whole bunch of parts for my truck. LMC truck sent me a whole bunch of
Nice.
stuff. So I'll be,
So when's the next truck video coming out?
you know, I feel I don't want to say a date because I promised that I'd have one out before the end of February, and I don't yet. I have I have one side of the box done, so which is good because I have all of that shot on film. I just need to edit it. So I'm not gonna be redundant and film the other side as well. But I'm thinking, I mean, the issue is I have some obligation videos that I need to get done, and the truck really won't take long. I just have it's I'm not getting paid to work on my truck, so it kind of has to take a back seat to paying work. Imagine
Your
that.
truck has a backseat?
No, but uh, it has a bed though, an 8-foot bed. But so I have, as far as kind of what's coming up for me, I just finished a welding cart. I gotta do that sign, the plasma cut sign. I'm gonna like backlight that somehow. I haven't figured out exactly what I'm gonna do yet. I have, what do I have after that? I have something. I'm gonna do a stool. It's walnut, like segmented, turned walnut and steel. That's on the agenda. Um, I have so many projects I need to do. It's just kind of that take precedence over the truck. But I'm thinking conservatively by the end of next month, I should at least have that video out. And I'm gonna migrate all those truck videos over to my main channel too. So got a lot of work. It's a good problem to have, but it doesn't mean it's not, you know, not stressful at times trying to figure out how to squeeze all of this into my schedule. So
Cool.
I think that pretty much sums it up for me. What about you?
Well, I have been, elbows deep in the glue test, almost literally. Uh, I finally finalized the total list of glues that I'll be testing, so it's 32 glues, and I have a bunch of other ones that I would like to do, but I'm drawing the line there because that's how much lumber I have, and to give you guys an idea, this will actually end up requiring 120 board feet of, hard maple in order to complete this test, which is a lot of lumber just for testing sake.
Yeah.
Um, I'll
120
be
board feet?
120 board feet. It's,
That's like a lot of
1,280 little blocks of wood that have to be glued onto bigger blocks of wood, and then all organized so that I know exactly what each block is, so that I know what glue it's on, what test of glue, and which iteration of that glue on that test.
this is incredibly ambitious.
Yeah. I'll be testing each glue in each iteration 10 times. And each iteration will be on a different board so that there is no bias towards, if one board is slightly weaker than the other. Um, and so it'll be, and then 4 different tests. One of them is long grain to long grain, one of them's in grain to long grain, one of them is gap filling, and then the last one is exterior conditions. So I'll actually be keeping that one outside for a week in the UV and watering it down and letting it get wet and dry and wet and dry, and then bring it in and test it wet.
Yeah, that's
So
crazy. Like, that's like you could have built one of those. marble music machines by the time you're done with this instead.
Yeah, so far I have, I've been keeping track of it. I think I have like 50 some hours in, and I probably have about another 40 or so to put in on this test.
That's crazy. What are you gonna do with all the are you gonna do something creative with all the chunks and pieces and stuff? There's gotta be
Well,
something that you can do with it when you're
the
done.
nice thing is, most all of it will be reusable, so I can the blocks that break off, I'll be able to use the other side of the block, so I can glue it onto the back side of the board and do future tests. So,
Do
because I have
future
so many
tests, is that what
yeah,
you
because
said?
there's so many other glues that I'm sure this is gonna generate things 'cause I'm not gonna be doing any of, like, the bone glue, brain glue, fish glue.
Brain
Um,
glue?
yeah, you can actually make glue from just about any body part. Um
That's a terrible way to jump in.
That's William just joined. I think that's the first part of the conversation you heard. Oh, well, welcome to the show, William.
Yeah, thanks.
Your internet connection is terrible, by the way.
Oh, sweet. Good.
But
Yeah,
at least
your
you're
audio's
with
really
us.
breaking up.
That reminds me of the scene in Meet the Fockers when he's like, can you milk me? Oh man, that's great. I don't even know what to say now. Like that just completely brick walled anywhere my brain was going.
So the glue test, it's gonna be a lot of fun, and so far I have, let's see, I am 1/6 of the way through 1/3 of the boards. So that would be like what? 1/12,
24th?
1/18
1/18th.
of the
Did you
way
say
through.
1/6 through 1/4 or
1/6 of 1/3 of the
Oh yeah,
boards.
yeah. I can math.
I'm
So
at.
I'm probably gonna be gluing them on for another week and a half to 2 weeks, if not more. And then I'm actually doing a collab with oh come on, my brain suddenly froze up.
I can't. I think like of all the Jamesisms I've heard in like what number podcast is this? Anybody know?
70.
Number 70. And 70, we've spent like 70 plus hours just on podcasts, and I think that is the most James.
But my brain
That's the
froze up.
biggest Jamesism I've ever heard. Is you can make glue from pretty much any body part. Oh my god, that's great. You should make a shirt that says, I'm going to make a shirt that says that. It's just going to have your logo on the front. It's just going to say that like on the back or underneath or something.
Well, it's true. And all you need is a protein source, and you can make glue.
That sounds
And
like
the
something.
cool thing is that every body part produces a different glue that has a different characteristic. Some are more sticky, some are softer, some are really brittle, some are really strong, some are temporary. You know, it's kind of experimenting.
It's like Silence of the Lambs stuff here.
So next time you have a table saw accident, save that finger. You might be able to use it.
Finger joint.
Yes. Well, the other thing I've been working on is saw sharpening, because I now have the vise. So sharpening is coming along. So I'll have the first video on that later today, and I'll be doing the crosscut sharpening actually Saturday. So should be fun.
Nice.
Yeah,
Will,
we'll.
dare we test your connection? What's new with you? Oh, maybe if you block your camera, it'll give you some more bandwidth.
I can turn my camera off. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
your audio is just trash right now.
Okay. How's that? Is that any better?
You
No.
sound like Deep Throat.
Why don't you log off and log back on and see if that improves it?
Okay.
I'm gonna have to do some editing on this one.
Yeah, you are.
You sound like you've been smoking for like 50 years. Oh, and he left. Yeah. So anyway, where were we at? I'm still trying to
Get past the body parts.
get back from that adventure.
Yeah, I've actually been creating a decent group around this glue test of other people who do scientific tests, and so I'm actually thinking about making a Facebook group, kind of like what you did, Zach.
Yeah.
And yeah, if any of you haven't, Zach created a Facebook group, so it's more of kind of like the hive mind for ZH Fabrications.
Yeah, it's FYI, anybody interested, it's the ZH Fabrications Maker Group on YouTube. And not to derail your conversation, but it's actually been really cool. Like it's more like a forum, because the YouTube or the Facebook business pages are pretty worthless. But this, like, it's a closed group, so if you guys send an invite, I'll invite you. But it's cool because people are sharing their work and asking questions, and it's kind of a nice little forum. So plus, I just polled my audience for what thumbnail picture, which is kind of a nice little tool that lets me figure out, get some questions answered and stuff. So, and anybody in it's welcome to do the same. But anyway, back to you, James.
Actually, let's talk to Will.
All right, can you hear me? Or is I still
yes.
That's better.
All right.
What did you do?
I'd logged off and logged back on
All
as
right.
per James's advice.
What you got going on, Will?
Oh man, I've got Semana Loco. So I just finished the install of the Cherry Live Edge vanity. So I installed the top and legs last week, and then the plumbers came in and set the sink and the drain and the trap and all of that. Then I came back with some Live Edge shelves and installed those yesterday. And that was an interesting install by myself, trying to hold up a shelf in between two legs and try to screw through some Live Edge corbels that I made, because that's what the client wanted. Anyway, got that installed. What should have taken an hour took me 3.5 and a trip to Lowe's. It was just one of those, like, nothing was going right, but it's over. That's out of my shop. I think it looks really good. Just posted a photo of it to Instagram. Today I'm installing an oak mantelpiece for a friend. That it's a 4x8, 7.5 foot long oak mantelpiece that'll sit on top of a brick ledge, and then it'll wrap around the corner with a smaller kind of mantle that'll run along the wall, and then it'll kill into another wall. And I'm supporting that on one end with a mortise and tenon, a very timber frame-esque, big chunky mortise and tenon. And then on the other end, I made a 3.5 inch wide, 1.5 inch thick at the thickest part, little mini corbel that'll get screwed into the wall and support the other end, and it'll just kind of float up there in case he ever needs to take it down. I just picked up all of the stock for a walnut, air-dried walnut dining table with a turned pedestal trestle base. That'll be an interesting project.
Wow,
I've never turned.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, I tried to talk her into, square legs and square trestles, and she said, no, I really like the turned pedestal look. And I was like, cool.
I wonder what the future of woodworking projects, because I feel like the descriptions for projects just keep getting longer and longer and longer and longer. Like a couple of years ago, it was just like wooden coffee table. Now it's like epoxy resin cured river table with turned pedestal trestle table legs, rustic.
Very, very much so. No, it's funny because, like, it's the more and more in depth I get in my projects, and people see one thing and then they want to, run off of that with a different project. Hey, I saw you did this cool technique here. Can we incorporate it into this, but do this instead and use this crazy figured wood? It's like my video titles are going to be like way too long with too many adjectives.
You gotta get those keywords, man.
That's right. I know.
Get them all in the title. That's the secret.
That's right. I've been working on that. I've been trying to do better and put like woodwork in the title.
I'm going the other way, because I feel like if everybody else has a title that's like a paragraph, I just want one that says like bench, and hopefully it'll stand out.
That'd be an interesting experiment. You should do something.
I don't know. I don't think it really matters. I mean, I don't want to. I feel like I can get caught up in like the logistics of stuff. Like it's a bad thing to get caught up in. Like, I mean, I know it's important.
I made a thing.
But yeah, exactly.
Yeah, box. How to make a thing. Just box.
Yeah.
Wood.
Thing that you sit on.
No, what else do I have going on? Let's see. I'm gonna finish up another live edge vanity countertop that'll go wall to wall. I went and traced the template and scribed the walls for that last week, and the walls were like half an inch out over a 6-foot span. So that was. I'm glad I made the template there. I'm about to start building a media console for Tools Today and make a video on it for their channel. And I just posted this morning a live edge charcuterie board video where I go over how to make, cut, and install a butterfly, bow tie, dovetail key,
Dutchman,
arikata, whatever you want to call it.
Domo arikata.
Domo arikata. And then the last thing I have going on is I'm having a meetup again at Hackett Enterprises, my favorite source for live edge slabs. Me and my daughter Morgan will be there tomorrow from 1:30 to 4, and then maybe Saturday morning if there's any interest. So if you're in the Central Virginia area or anywhere in the Mid-Atlantic and feel like taking a drive, it's an awesome source, awesome place to go. If you want to learn more, message me on some social media and I'll get you all the info. And that's all I got going on, I think.
Sounds like a lot.
Yeah. I'm trying to get all these small projects out of my shop into their rightful owners.
Hackett Enterprises sounds like Skynet or like some villainous like superhero company.
It does, like Luther Corp.
Yeah. Sounds ominous.
Cool.
Yeah.
What do you say we get into a couple questions we have?
Yeah. Before that, since you're a part of this podcast now, again, well, let's talk about the photo challenge a bit. Holy crap! We were talking about it earlier, but I'm blown away by how many like great submissions there are.
Yeah, it was there's too many to pick like my favorite. Like they're all awesome.
So here's what we've kind of decided. I think we need to make this challenge every 2 weeks. That gives people more time to post stuff. And typically, I think we'll select the winner and then announce the next challenge. But we haven't selected a winner yet. But do you have any ideas or any suggestions for the next photo challenge for the next 2 weeks?
Man, I was thinking about that, and I would have had a better idea if I didn't have so much technical difficulty this morning.
Yeah,
I still like the idea of dust in the wind.
Dust in the wind.
I like the hand one, but like having your hands in there. But yeah, I don't know. I'm okay with whatever. But I think we need to announce the next one before the end of the podcast so people can get cracking on that.
Okay. So speaking of dust in the wind, I have to give a shout out to the Woodwork Life for his entry into the Creators Photo Challenge, because not only did he have a great photo, it was really interesting, but he also had a slow motion video that almost looked like a cinematograph to go along with his photo, where he took some shop sawdust and threw it behind the plane. And it was just kind of mesmerizing.
I didn't see that one. Which
it's the Woodwork Life.
I guess it's kind of hard to describe a picture. I'll just have to thumb through them. It's the one with the hand plane in it.
Yeah, it's that one. Yeah.
Yeah. There's some. I mean, I'm blown away. I thought like for sure like, and I'm not like much of a photographer, but like I thought like such a cool idea because I like had a totally dim room when I had mine. It was totally dark in my shop, and I put it on like an 8-second exposure and just like had a really dim flashlight, and I just moved it around my hand plane. And I posted that. And I'm like, oh, I totally got this. And then I saw some of the other ones. I'm like, not going to happen. There's so many good ones. It's insane. Yeah. It's incredible. We'll shine a spotlight on some of the whoever we decide wins next week, and we'll send some sort of swag. I'm not sure what. We're gonna work on some swag for the podcast and figure something out. But somebody said what would be a cool reward for this one would be a hand plane. I don't know if James, if you have like, it'd be kind of cool if we all signed like some really crappy hand plane and mailed it to the winner. Unless they don't want that, I don't know.
I have a pretty trashy one. The one that was in my picture was actually the frame is broken. It's completely pitted inside out. The cap iron is rust welded to the iron. It's
that sounds like a great prize.
Yeah, the tote is completely mangled. It's a good one.
Yeah,
Picked it up for 50 cents.
Or we could just send a T-shirt or something. But it'd be kind of cool.
The T-shirt's probably a better idea.
All signed a crappy hand plane. Just get rid of our junk. That's the reward. Every 2 weeks, somebody will mail you their broken tools.
All right, let's get into a question or two, eh?
Yeah.
Let's
do it.
I actually had 3 different people this week email me the exact same question, basically, and all of them were, "Hey, I just purchased X cheap plane from Make It Harbor Freight or Amazon or the big box store, and I can't get the thing to work, and I've sharpened it with an inch in my life, and it's still not doing what I want it to do." Do you guys get those questions?
Well, because I'm one of the admins on the Creators Collective Facebook page, I did see that same exact question, and we both responded to it. But yeah, I don't know. Like anything that isn't old and kind of vetted or new and vetted, yeah, I would say steer clear of the cheapos. It just leads to frustration.
Yeah. I think for my money, the cheapest new plane that I would buy is the Stanley Sweetheart series. Now, keep in mind it's still a fairly cheap plane, but it's a decent working plane. It has some quirks and some things that just make it feel cheaper, but it works fairly well, and for the price, it's really good. But that being said, it's still like $100 for a hand plane. If it's new and less than $100, I can pretty much tell you it's just going to be an absolute pain. But that being said, if you want to make a scrub plane, a plane that takes off a large amount of material very quickly, does a very rough and rough job of it. A cheap hand plane like that, $20 one from the big box store can be turned into a scrub plane and work fairly well for that because they don't need any precision. They just need to hog off material. So that's a good use for it.
What's your take on the old wooden planes, James? I don't think I've seen you use those.
I have quite a few, and I really enjoy using them. I don't use them much because not as many people have them, and so they don't show off as well in videos.
Yeah.
But they're an art to learn to adjust because you adjust the iron with a mallet as opposed to knobs and levers. But they're a lot of fun to work with.
I actually did you guys see Pask Makes just put out a video on him making the Japanese style wooden hand plane. That's on my list. That's on my list of things. I'm gonna make one of those. But Make Brooklyn just mentioned in the live chat the Grizzly hand planes. I am going to talk to my people at Grizzly and see if they want me to do a setup video on the Grizzly hand planes because they're like $25 or $30. Mm-hmm. And I haven't tried them out yet, and I don't.
Yeah, I haven't had a chance to try them either. I've heard a lot of things one way and the other. But yeah, I don't know. I haven't tried.
I don't know what, like this week I on my Instagram I got like Grizzly liked a bunch of my posts and Jet liked a bunch of my posts.
Grizzly did the follow Friday on you, right?
Yeah. So yeah, that was cool. I feel special now. I have like these big companies that are
and Woodcraft just started following me on all my social media, and I'm wondering if they're getting ramping up to do any kind of social media.
Anytime like one of those companies likes me, I send them a direct message. I'm like, hey, how's it going? What are you doing?
Yeah, one of these days I want to try out the Grizzly planes, but I just haven't gotten them. And
yeah,
yeah.
I think if I purchase a new plane, it's going to be that bronze Lee Nielsen smoother. Just because I want it. It just looks so sexy.
What are those? What are the German like wooden horned planes? Who makes those? I forgot.
There's a couple different companies actually that still make them.
It's got like the green. It's I think it's like
I
three
can't
letters.
pronounce any of them.
You know, anybody know what I'm talking about? It's like three. I think it's like three letters. They have like that.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about, but I can't remember which
I'll
ones.
find out here. I want one of those just because I think they look cool time in a video.
Yeah.
I don't know, but part of the enjoyment with old hand planes is restoring them and dating them to the certain types. And like one of my number 5s is from 1886 to 1894 or something like that. Don't quote me on the dates. But restoring that and going down and, you know, the patent dates on the lateral adjustment, the size of the handle and tote, and all the different markings on it and dating them. I think that's way, way cooler than buying a new one. So I would say invest in an antique store find or a flea market find, and it'll perform way better for you than the super cheap Amazon hand plane.
I'm going to be doing a lot of restoration videos here soon, so that should be a fun one. It's a lot easier than people think. It's not that difficult to bring one up to a really nice functioning state.
Oh, it's ECE or Emmerich. They have like the Primus planes.
The ones with the finger jointed sole.
Yeah, they're just cool looking. They're just so different looking. I just want to mess around with one.
I'll have to check it out. I'm not familiar with this.
Cool. Well, we have another question. ZYX. Who put that one in there?
They actually commented on my video that I released today, and I thought it was a good question for the show because we both, James and I, you and I both worked with a lot of epoxy. You're about to do your dining table with all that epoxy. You're doing the glue test. I used tinted epoxy a lot. But the question was, will tinted epoxy allow for wood movement? And I would say, I think it A, depends on the epoxy, and B, I have no idea.
Actually, I just did some research on this just before we started this, just to kind of think about it. And different epoxies have different expansion coefficients. So some of them actually do expand with heat and cold, very, very similar to how wood does. The problem with epoxy is that it does not expand from moisture absorption, whereas wood will expand and contract with moisture absorption as well as heat and cold. So if you are in an area where there is a lot of moisture swing, and you're running your epoxy across the grain, then you might run into problems where the epoxy breaks free of the wood. But if you're running it with the grain, no, there's really no issue. Most all epoxies will expand and contract very, very similar to how wood does lengthwise. But going across the grain, that might be an issue because the epoxy doesn't absorb water.
So I was going to say, so I used, in this latest video, I used West Systems after much research of, food safety, and I put it out on Facebook, should I fill these checks with epoxy or not, if it's a charcuterie board? And the response was overwhelmingly yes. And we don't care about, it being absolutely totally food safe, even though I know the FDA says that any finish is food safe once cured. I still don't know. But using West Systems, which is a marine epoxy, it's used in boat making. I would assume that it would expand and contract, the way it would on a boat.
Yeah, there's actually their expansion coefficient is very, very similar to wood.
Okay. But then using something like a bar top epoxy that's meant for, wet areas and spillage and things, I would assume that they would expand and contract with a wooden bar top.
Well, if you ever looked at a very large bar top, you may see cracks running with the grain.
Yep.
And that's actually because the wood underneath is expanding across the grain as it absorbs moisture.
And I think usually that's because most of the bars they epoxy the top and don't do anything with the bottom.
Yep,
So
exactly.
the wood is still moving. I mean, essentially, if you can cover the whole thing and get an airtight seal, I would think that you'd be fine.
Right. I guess it's the same way that, with a tabletop, you finish the top and the bottom. So they react to the moisture swings equally until one side doesn't get super dry and, make the tabletop cup.
Yep.
Well, cool. All right.
So what do we want to do for this photo challenge?
Yeah. Come on, Will.
Oh, geez.
Let's do this. We can do next week. We can do dust in the wind or hands on tools.
I think one. We don't want to limit ourselves.
No, I'm saying which one do we want to?
Oh, okay.
All right. I'm going to say hands on tools.
That sounds. Never mind.
Yeah, appropriate photos of hands on tools. This has to be
PG-13 hands on tools.
But you can make glue out of any body part.
Oh, you seriously need to make a shirt that just says that and it has your name after it. I would buy that. I would
totally
just say it with a quote, like a black shirt, white text, says you can make glue out of any body part, and it just
you can make any color glue out of any body part.
No, just simple to the point. I would buy that shirt.
But then don't walk into a school with that shirt on. You'll get kicked out right quick in a hurry.
Oh man, that's great.
Okay.
My favorite
one.
So hands on tools.
Hands on tools for the next. You have 2 weeks.
Yeah. So you have one more week to submit your hand plane, and we will be picking the winner next week. And then next week we'll be starting the hands on tools. So we're giving you a week ahead of time to think about it.
Start hands on tools whenever you want. I don't want to limit people if they feel inspired to post their pictures.
What if someone puts a hand on a hand plane and then posts it in both?
That doesn't count. You can only do one or the other.
Yeah, you have to choose.
Here's my thoughts, and you guys can see what you think of this. I think we should end the hand plane one. That way we can make a decision this week on who the winner is.
Oh, okay. So that one's done right now.
Yeah,
and we can
get submissions, and we might have to rethink everything.
That sounds good. So people can start putting the hands on tools now?
Hands on tools.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. So the hand plane is done. Hands on tools. You can go ahead and start that one. And we will tell you next week who won.
Yep. Same hashtag.
And since someone a bunch of wood curls from my floor.
Yeah. Crotch curls.
You get all of my dust collector collections.
We'll send you a 50-pound bag of dust collector.
Yeah.
Yeah. I thought there was something else I was going to say.
Well, Will, what are you reading this week?
I am watching. Actually, this is kind of a good segue. Jonathan J. Katz Moses. He just sent me a message on Instagram telling me how much my Film School Fridays series is inspiring him to up his cinematography. And he just released his latest video on a magnetic shooting board. What is it? It's magnetic shooting board 45 shooter video thing and bench hook. It's hard to describe, but it's a really cool video where he has basically a bench hook that he changes into a shooting board with these different attachments. But at the end of the video, he drops my name and does a really cinematic B-roll on how to use it and using it. So it was just really cool that he reached out, and it's a really cool video. So that's what I've been watching.
Those inlaid dovetails are ridiculous. And
making dovetails once is just not enough.
Yeah. And he's sending me some of his magnetic dovetail guides just as a thank you. So I thought that was pretty cool. Go check him out.
Those are a lot of fun.
I'm excited to try it. I've got a metal.
It's my favorite dovetail guide.
Okay, good to know.
Cool. And it's just such a cool name, Katz Moses. It's just like such a good visual. Like I think he needs to rethink his
logo,
his branding. I think it should definitely involve cats in Moses. Something
like Moses holding up two
Or a cat with a long beard.
I mean, that needs to happen. Like, I'm not the man for the job, but I would love to see something. Anyway,
Zach, what are you watching?
So I have. There's this. I'm not good at social media. I think it's actually a Tumblr page, and it's just called videos of, or it's just called people making stuff, and it's just a compilation of a bunch of videos that somebody put together, and they're all really fascinating. They're all just super enjoyable to watch. So, trying to kind of get some ideas for film, like cinematography style, and figuring out how to step out of the YouTube maker atmosphere. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but I feel like there's I want to do something different. So I'm trying to watch a different compilation of ideas and thoughts and style. And this page just there's like 20 pages of just videos that somebody's thrown together, and they're all very well done. So I'm just kind of watching that and trying to get some ideas. It's very entertaining.
Cool. I'll have to check that out.
Yeah.
Well, this week I'm going to shout out Hand Toolery, another hand tool challenge. But he just made a coffin smoother, and I really like it. Basically, you've seen a lot of people who make a hand plane where they cut off the two sides and they make the block in the middle. They put the two sides back together and they put a pin through it. Well, he decided to make a traditional wedge style smoother, but cut it apart. But rather than cutting the two sides off, he cut it right down the middle so he could work on either side of the mouth. It was a really a cool idea, and I was very impressed with the whole thing. So definitely take a look at it if you like watching people make a hand plane. He did some sweet ideas on there that I think I might duplicate. So definitely check out Hand Toolery.
I don't even know what a coffin smoother is.
It is a wooden smoothing plane.
Oh, okay. Was it used to smooth coffins?
It's shaped like a coffin.
Okay.
Yeah, if you look at it from the top, because it's narrow at the heel and narrow at the toe.
Is there a YouTube channel called Tom Toolery? Because if not, there should be one. It's my dad joke of the week.
Oh yeah, there you go. Joke of the week, right there.
Joke of the week. Oh, cool.
I'm gonna
Zach, what's your product of the week?
Oh, did I put the link in there?
Yes, you did.
I did. Holy crap. So my tool of the week is the Swag Off-Road bandsaw table. So it's for like the porta bands, I have a battery powered DeWalt one, but they have different models for depending on, pretty much any bandsaw that you have, metal bandsaw. It's so cool. The one that I have has I think they all actually have the track in it, the slot track that you can use a miter gauge. So I have like the Inker miter gauge, and on the welding card, I had to cut some angles through some like 1-inch square tubing. And as much as I love my cold saw, it's pretty much only good for like 90-degree and 45-degree angle cuts. It's just, you can't lock it in place for if you want like a 10-degree angle or, any odd angle. The bandsaw table is awesome because it's like a table saw. You just set your miter gauge for what degree you want to cut at. And I was very pleasantly surprised. It's one of those tools that I wish I would have bought a year ago. And I think they're like $150 or something like that. So
I have one of those for my saw actually.
Yeah? For what saw?
It's called a bird's mouth.
Is that a dad joke? I'm lost.
No, it's called a bird's mouth. It's a table that you clamp to your bench that you can then run a fret saw or a hand saw on.
Huh. Okay.
I thought it was kind of funny. I was thinking, I should make one of those for my hand tools. And I was just thinking about it. I was like, oh, actually, I have one. It's called a bird's mouth. Sorry.
I don't know why it's so awkward all of a sudden.
I'm going to blame it on my internet connection cutting out.
Okay, yeah, that's what it was.
What you got, Will?
So in installing the shelves on that Cherry Live Edge vanity, because I had to install the main part of the vanity up against a wall before the plumbers came in to finish. And then I had to put then install the shelves after the plumbing was already installed. I was up against a wall, literally, and I couldn't get any screwdriver or impact driver to fit in the space to mount these shelves. So I had to run the right angle drill attachment so I could hold the drill, out in the open, not in the cramped space, and actually hold the end of this thing just to drive the screws. And so it cost me like $30, but it saved me like uninstalling all the plumbing, pulling it away from the wall, installing it, and then putting it back. So that was a lifesaver, and that's what took me, 3.5 hours to do instead of just the hour it was going to take me to show up. But oh well.
And we used to have a right angle drill. I think it was made by DeWalt, but it looked like a Sawzall, except for on the end, rather than having a saw blade, it had a right angle attachment. That was the coolest tool I ever used when framing. Actually, when running electrical, putting in holes through the studs.
I was going to say a lot of electricians call those hole shooters, and that's like their favorite tool.
Yeah, it's a powerful and enjoyable. Cool. Well, I've got a spring clamp. Those little squeeze clamps you have with your hand. I purchased 30 some of them for this glue test, and I'm loving these things. In the past, when I've had them, I've just never had enough for any particular project. Well, now I have enough because I'm actually taking these clamps, and I bought 30 some of them so that I can test them all. And some of them were too strong, and so I could bend the spring back and weaken them up, so I can have them all holding the exact same pressure in the clamping test. So yeah, I think they're my favorite only because I've been using them so much. Every couple hours, I'm switching out 24 spring clamps.
You're getting all Matthias on us over here, James.
I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Were you on the Make or Break podcast, James?
I have been.
Oh, I'm doing that next week. I forgot I should mention that. So yeah, that'll be cool. It's my first podcast cameo.
Nice.
I think people are scared to have me on their podcast because I'm me.
They just think you're too cool for the podcast. That's it.
That's exactly what it is.
He would never do it. Don't even ask him.
Yeah. Like, oh man. No way.
Cool. Well, you guys have destroyed a whole nother 50 minutes of podcast, and I'm sorry for that. But if you want more, you can come back next week. So every Thursday.
Any other podcast. And
what's that?
Said they could have listened to any other podcast out there.
We are honored that you chose us. And if you listened this far, we are doubly honored. So if you want to join us next Thursday for the live recording, you can view that on the YouTube Creators Collective channel. And we record every Thursday at 10 a.m. Eastern time. So I'm looking forward to seeing you there. Also, if you have any questions or comments or ideas, feel free to email one of us or through any of our Creators Collective social media sites. So that's about it for this week. Until next time. Have a wonderful day.
Later.
Adios.